People mean well. They do. But because we're so inept, and I'm going to call it like I see it, we are inept when it comes to handling grief in our society. We have lost traditions. We have lost the ability to have a functional and a productive conversation about death. If you're comfortable, talk about your grief. It is actually a healthy way for you to overcome it. Invite people in. There was this old tradition that I discovered in my grief research that allowed people to know that they could talk and share in my grief when they came to my home, that they didn't need to shy away from it, because it is, like it's a shit thing. And I just would prefer that we acknowledge it so we don't step in it. You know what I'm saying? Because believe me, people can step in it. So I create a black wreath, and by putting this black wreath on the door, you're basically telling anybody who comes to your home that the people in this home are grieving. And so just to be aware of that. And it's not a shh, don't mention this, don't mention that. That's not the purpose of it. It was actually to say, you know what, you're invited into their grief. You can talk about it. One of my dear friends had a loss of a family member very close, and I don't want to give any names away. But one of the things that I know she talked about, and I've heard Brené Brown talk about, was that when people were grieving, one of the things that they found very frustrating was that people would often stop talking about their loved ones and the great things that were going on in their lives for fear that it would trigger the other person to feel bad. They'd stop talking about the wonderful things that were happening with their children because their friend just lost a child. And it really helps a lot of people when we can have a conversation, a normal conversation that we would have had a year before our person dies about them, and have a laugh and have that remembrance and keep them alive in that way. And so I encourage people to talk and tell stories about my husband, because it makes me feel like we're not actually that far away from each other. And that if I really miss him, all I have to do is remember. Or even I got to find out new things that I didn't know about him from people who knew him prior to me. And it was like this beautiful gift that came to me. And when you share how you feel about your own blessings in the world, it allows other people to understand that you know what they've lost. We can empathize, we can sympathize, because you cannot go through this life without experiencing even the tiniest of loss. And if you can take that tiny, tiny loss and you can exacerbate it and blow it up 1,000 times, you have some fraction of an idea what somebody might be going through. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't going to step in it with what they say sometimes. If you're a dandelion, write it down below. And if you resonated with this, subscribe, hit the bell, the button, the buzzer, throw an arrow at it, whatever you makes the algorithms and YouTube happy. That would be great. And we'll see you more for the Dandelion Way.